Hey, it's Anthony Iannarino, thesalesblog.com, right here, youtube.com/Iannarino, author of The Lost Art of Closing, Winning the 10 Commitments That Drive Sales. And this is episode 2 of Q&AI, where you ask questions and I answer them for you, giving you practical advice that you can put to work immediately. So my co-host, Don, the idea guy, is going to read the questions and we're going to answer them. So here we go.
Question 1 comes from Nick. Anthony, what advice would you give a rep who is new to an industry? What angle would you advise to help set up appointments when the person is short on experience and knowledge?
Great question, Nick. You're new in your role, and this means that you lack the insight in the situational knowledge or the kinds of experiences that allow you to know how to serve your clients. So I'm going to make 2 big recommendations for you here. The first recommendation is go to salespeople on your team with a legal pad and a pen and say, let me interview you about what we do with our clients and how we create value. And ask them questions. What are the common challenges that our clients have? What are the root causes of those common challenges? So I'm not talking about the presenting problem. I'm talking about the deep structural problems that people have that really cause them problems. So in staffing, for instance, there's a labor shortage and there's wage pressure. I'm looking for the issues behind the issue so that I have real insights and I'm not just looking at the presenting problem. I'm going deep so I can be strategic and say, how do you solve systemic challenges? That's what you do when you're a trusted advisor. And then ask them to go on calls with them and write down literally every question that they ask and every question that's asked of them, and take notes on what they say and what the client says. And then when you get back in the car after a meeting, grill them. Why did you ask this question? Where were you hoping this would lead? What were you trying to get at? Why did they ask you this question? What do you think they were really trying to get us to explain or talk to them about? And what you want to do... I started question 2, sorry. What you want to do is you want to get an education so that you can serve your clients better. The second thing you want to do is when you go to clients, I did this when I was 25 and I was sitting across from guys who were 52 running multi-million-dollar businesses, and I would ask them, educate me on your business. Help me understand how you think about what I do in my business, and help me understand what somebody in my role should be doing to create value for you. And they would invariably tell me, look, these are the problems that you need to solve for me, and here's why we have trouble getting results from companies like yours, and here's how we look at these problems. And when you do that, you get a very, very different level of engagement, and you get an education. And what happens is if you go talk to 4 or 5 clients, when you sit down with the 6th client, you know things. You start to have ideas about, wait a second, I know where they're going with this. I know what they're trying to get at, and I understand what the root cause of their challenge is. And then you can start asking better questions and develop your own view of the problem and what you should do about it. So that's what I would recommend, Nick. First, if you don't have the experience, get the experience of the people who are inside the 4 walls of your company and codify that experience. And then go out and investigate on your own and see what your clients want or need from you and let them give you an education. So that is the first bit of advice that I would give you or anyone that's trying to figure out what to do when they're in a role like yours. Okay, so now we have to reload here to go to question 2. Here we go.
Question 2 comes from Doug. The flooring company I work for does not utilize a CRM software and seems to be against using one at all. How can I change their minds?
Why on earth would anyone not want to use a CRM? It makes no sense at all. The great value inside any company is a few things. It's the employees, it's maybe some assets, but most of all, it's the client relationships that you have. So a customer relationship manager or CRM is the record of those relationships. And I have no idea why anyone would be opposed to tracking the most important asset that they have outside of their employees. If you were to start the business over, the one thing that you would want is a list of all the people you've done business with. You'd want a list of their preferences and their orders. You'd definitely want their contact information. You'd want the notes on conversations that went on when you aren't there. And if you think about this in a flooring company, maybe they think that we're only going to do flooring for one person and then we won't see that person again for maybe a decade. Maybe true, maybe not. But I would tell you that you can go back and do the living room after you've done the kitchen, or you could go back and do the bedrooms after you've done the dining room, or whatever the case may be. I would want to keep those relationships for marketing and for nurturing, and so I had a record of all of the relationships that I have. But Doug, this does not necessarily have to be your company's problem, because you can go get a CRM from one of my sponsors on the podcast, SAP. You can go to SAP and get their digital CRM for something like $24 a month. So if it's important to you, invest a couple $100 in it and start keeping your own records, because later on you're going to have a great habit, you're going to have a great database, you're going to be able to better serve your clients, you're going to know their preferences, and it just makes sense to do it. A lot of times we think our company has to do something for us that they don't. Do it yourself. Get a CRM, get that one at SAP, or go out to pipelinedeals.com, another good one, a little bit more money, still affordable. Or if you want to get serious and it's going to be your database that you maintain for life because you plan on staying in this vertical, get an even more expensive CRM and do the work, because ultimately you're responsible for your own results, and you can make no better investment than the investment you make in yourself, in your education, in your skills, and your tools. I would start with internal stuff and work outward to tools, but there's no reason not to have a good CRM in today's day and age. Let's let Don give us question number 3. Don.
Question 3 comes from Hassan. Can you give me some step-by-step guidance on how to be more accountable?
Step-by-step guidance in being more accountable. I'm going to give you one big giant step, Hassan. Keep the commitments that you make. Keep the commitments that you make to other people, and keep the commitments that you make to yourself. So if you say, I'm going to do this, then do that. Every time without fail, just do it. And that's the root of accountability, is not the reporting. It's not looking at a dashboard on Salesforce.com. The root of accountability is doing what you say you're going to do and producing a certain result. So if you need help being accountable, it means that you need to make commitments and keep those commitments every single time. And if you promise an outcome, then you need to keep that outcome. In the first book I wrote, The Only Sales Guide You'll Ever Need, there is a chapter on accountability. It's chapter 9 in the book. And the reason that is there is because as a salesperson, we promise our clients we're going to generate outcomes for them. We have to create those outcomes, and then we have to make sure that that continues, which means we need to be accountable long term. One of the fastest ways to destroy trust is to sell something and then not be accountable for the outcome that you promised. But really it boils down to one thing. Are you the kind of person that keeps the commitments that you make to other people? And are you the kind of person that keeps the most difficult commitments to keep? And that's the one we make to ourselves, where we say, look, I'm going to get up and I'm going to dial the phone 100 times tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes. Or we say, I'm going to follow up on this, and then we don't follow up because tomorrow never comes. All you've got is right now, so you need to be accountable. Make a decision and then take action on that, and that is the root of accountability. And look, this is something you don't do for somebody else. It's what you do for yourself, because it's your character, it's your integrity, and it's what makes you a trusted advisor. Last question.
Question 4 is from Surrender. How do I approach strangers in regard to doing business with me?
Oh, that's an interesting question. How do I approach strangers? Look, everybody you've ever met in your entire life at one time was a stranger. And when you were a little kid, you were taught, stay away from strangers, stranger danger, terrible advice. But you never had trouble walking up to another kid and talking to him. You never had a problem introducing yourself or being introduced to other people. That's a grown-up thing that you get later on when you think, I'm going to interrupt this person, or I'm not sure what's going to happen when I pick up the phone. Here's the thing. You have to introduce yourself to strangers. So you need to pick up the phone and make phone calls. You need to introduce yourself to people on airplanes. You need to introduce yourself to people who start a conversation or you start a conversation with inside a store where you're in line waiting to pay. Everywhere's a chance to develop new relationships, and it doesn't make sense to go through life avoiding other people and not developing relationships because you don't know if you can serve them or not, or if they can serve you in some way. And the relationships are what makes life worth living. I mean, that's the whole sum of your life, is the sum of the relationships you have, and that's how you're going to measure it. So walk up to people and say, hi, my name is Surrender, and I'd like to know a little bit about you, and just be interested in other people. Dale Carnegie in How to Win Friends and Influence People said, you can produce better results in 2 months of being interested in other people than 2 years being interested in yourself and trying to get other people interested in you. So the key is go and be interested in other people, introduce yourself, and be brave. And you know what? People are going to welcome that because they like when somebody else takes the first step and reaches out to them. If you're in sales, you cannot be afraid of talking to strangers. You can't be afraid of introducing yourself to them. You can't be afraid of being curious and asking about them, because that's what we do. We make new relationships and then we sustain those relationships over time. So Surrender, just walk up and introduce yourself and say, hi, my name is Surrender. You have the coolest name. It means I'm automatically disarmed. I have to talk to Surrender. That's so cool. It's going to be interesting and novel for people. So just do it. Just step up and do it. A lot of the fear that we have is unnecessary and it doesn't serve us. And the real danger is not knowing the people you need to know, rather than being afraid to be putting somebody off, or being afraid that somebody's going to reject you or something like that. This is Q&AI. I'm Anthony Iannarino. You ask me questions. I try to give you good practical answers here with some sort of insight. This is episode 2. The show here is called Every Day, and you can subscribe so you get the show every day. And every couple of weeks we'll do Q&AI. So in the links below, there's an email address. Email me directly with your questions, and Don will read them out loud, unless you want to do a video talking straight into a camera like this, in which case we'll put your video on. Until next time, this is Q&AI. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for Every Day.